Diane did here, just informing people what the Tea Party's all about. And then I've got 5
Are you speaking tonight?
I wasn't on their schedule. I just kind of came over. Yeah,
well, so it's a good event, right?
Yeah, it is. It's great. You want to support all of them. That's what we do.
I like your pin.
That's my pledge.
Your pledge?
Yeah. I'm bringing him back. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm tired of what they're telling the people and the students on that campus. They're not giving the students any free speech at all.
No. How do you feel about that whole Last Dance type, where they rent out Assembly Hall?
Well, this last thing they did, I don't think that they did it right. Now, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they, the people that were pro-Chief rent that hall?
Right.
Yeah.
And
after one of the football games, they had the Chief.
Yeah, and there was nothing else scheduled. It was just for the people who had that party. It was. I mean, nobody else didn't have to go. It was strictly for them, for the pro-Chief and the Chief to have his last dance, which was, I mean, that's the least they could do.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel that was a good send-off.
Right.
Not that it should have happened, but it was a good send-off.
And they pledge to do it like every year.
Yeah, and I think they should. That's Illinois. The Chief is an icon, not only for U of I. He's an icon for the state. Mm-hmm. When you go to other states and talk about Illinois, you mention Illinois,
right?
And it invokes the state of Illinois, as well as the U of I. So when they took away Illinois, they took away the icon of Illinois.
Right. Okay, well, not to change subject too much, but to go to the pension reform, have you heard about the latest pension reform?
I've heard something of what they're trying to change that for the government officials and students, or for the teachers as well. And it certainly needs reform. I know a lot of people are upset with the fact that a lot of the professors are getting a huge sum of money for their pension retirement. And the way it's figured right now, they're originally giving them a 3% on what their earnings were, and unfortunately that 3% was also compounded, so it wasn't 3% on a base formula. That formula number changed every year because you're adding 3% to it every year. They needed to change that. I think they need to get a base cap retirement figure, and that was what the retirement was figured on regardless, and then they definitely take it so it's not compounded out. And I also think that 3% is too much. I mean, right now they publish salaries for the U of I, which probably upset a lot of professors. But there's a huge amount of people making over $200,000 a year.
Right.
That's more than the governor makes. So there's certain reform has to be done, and that's one place where you can start. Is that the formula that they use to create that retirement fund needs to be changed.
Right. As long as we're talking about the university, do you have any comments on the clout scandal? Do you think that was...
We got to get rid of those clouts. That's absolutely true. What are we doing there? This is corruption at the greatest. I mean, you think about that in Chicago and you expect it, but you do not expect that at a institution of higher learning. I mean, I'll do everything I can to get rid of that. That is absolutely corrupt on the campus. So it's not fair to the students. It's not fair to the professors.
It's not fair to the taxpayers.
Or the taxpayers. Exactly right.
Basically just Chicago politicians.
It is. It's Chicago politics all over the campus. That has to change.
Why do you think the Chicago machine is so insensitive to the needs of the rest of the state?
Well, you have to understand, the University of Illinois, it's a big base. That's 30,000 people. That's a big voting base. And there's nothing that Chicago likes more than control. And if they can get the control of the University of Illinois, that speaks numbers to the whole south of 80 population. So yeah, I think it's politics of the highest degree to try to control the university.
Do you think your opponent is more or less kind of part of that machine?
Well, if you try to follow how he's working in the politics, a lot of times he does sound like he's very sensitive to what the university wants. But promising something and not delivering is almost worse than not promising anything at all.
Right.
And that's what's happened at the university. A lot of promises about what he's going to do for the university and hasn't been able to pull it off. And you listen, when you get almost $1 million funding for your campaign from out of your district. You have to have some allegiance someplace. And it certainly doesn't seem like it's coming from the district.
I don't care what the letter is behind the name. Let's get behind
right now, part of the state income tax, a sizable proportion, goes to local municipalities.
Yeah.
Do you think that should change with the state in such a budget financial crisis? Do you think that we should not cut funding, but tighten what we give to local municipalities?
Right now, they're trying to cut the percentage that they normally give out of the state income tax to those small towns. It was at 10%. They want to cut it to 7%. If anybody goes to any of the administrative officials in any of those small towns right now and asks them, where does your revenue come from? That's the major source of all the revenue comes from the state income tax. If they cut it from 10% to 7%, you're going to put all those towns into bankruptcy. Right now, many of those towns are under mandate, EPA unfunded mandate to fix projects in their territory or within their city that they can't afford now. And you taking 3% more of that revenue that comes from state income tax, it's going to push them over the limit. They're going to go bankrupt. They can't afford that. You have to stop. You can't do that.
What's wrong with the economy in Danville?
The economy in Danville is twofold. Number one, the regulations for anybody to start a new business. Number one, you have the highest workers' comp of any of the surrounding states. So a small businessman will always be a small business because he won't be able to afford to hire anybody because he can't afford the insurance. The income tax on corporations, they want to raise from 4.6% to 8%. That's going to force people out of it. What you're seeing right now is a huge migration for the Danville area. We're 5 miles from paradise for a small business or a corporate business because of this tax structure. Case in point, Raven Trucking's up north moved across the line and probably saved $750,000 within the very first year they were over. Yeah. So
you think we could learn from Indiana, please?
Absolutely. If we could just talk and adopt some of the stuff that the governor of Indiana has done, we could be very successful. Very successful here.
What do you think I know this isn't anything that you can necessarily control, but what do you think of the recent healthcare reform?
Just also want to remind everybody, if you get
well, the healthcare reform, certainly we need healthcare reform. There's too many people who are hurting. But to do an unconstitutional mandate that makes people buy something that's unconstitutional. And I really think that they're going to take that to court and it will be overthrown because the government has never been able to do that particular issue, is mandate that people buy something, and it is unconstitutional. Although we do need reform, but there are other ways we can do some of that. Cut out some of the fraud, some of the illegal lawsuits, those kind of things. That's the kind of stuff we need to cut out. Right. TARP law. We need the tort reform. Yeah, we need to cut some of those attorneys out. So there's a lot of things that need to be done. So
well,
we need to go through. I heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, the word.
Hey, I'll talk to you a little later.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
Talk
sir.
later, okay.
Is he talking?